Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all our achievers out here, students and their parents. Before we start with the proceedings, on behalf of the entire team of CL Bhubaneshwar and Cuttack, as well as the HO team in Delhi, I'd like to congratulate all the achievers out here. So heartiest congratulations to Dhruv, to Utkarsh, to Anandita, to Tejashwini, to Divyanshi, and Prakrit, as well as Shruti. Many congratulations to all of you. Further, some of your mentors are also out here. So let me also congratulate all the mentors who have been guiding you all throughout your preparation journey, starting with Sudhanshu sir, Vishal sir, Satvik sir, Dipankar sir. Thanks and many congratulations to you too. It also gives me an immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Amitendra Kumar, our National Product Manager for the UG Prep programs. Mr. Amitendra has been anchoring our UG products like law, IPM, BBA, hotel management, and a host of other entrance programs for more than a decade or so. I would like to request Mr. Amitendra Kumar to initiate the proceedings of this meet with his keynote address. So over to Amitendra.
Thank you so much, Devashish. In fact, it's a privilege to be here, actually, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to join this session. It's always wonderful. Last 2 days, I have been interacting with lots of achievers, actually, and I feel really proud of being part with them, actually, and I'm truly feeling that I'm part of their show and part of their achievement, actually. So let me take this opportunity on behalf of entire Career Launcher family to welcome all the achievers, the people who are attending the session today, the students who will be taking up the exams next year, maybe next to next year, and their parents. I'm sure they are also attending the session today. I believe this is a day of learning. This is a day of exchange of ideas. This is a day of sharing the ideas, the journeys of these young achievers who have done us proud. Well, it's no different story, I would say, because every year we have young achievers making us proud, securing top ranks in all the top entrance examination. This year is a bit different, I would say, because we managed to not only get 9 out of top 10 ranks in CLAT 2021, our achievers have made us proud in LSAT India as well, securing almost all the top percentiles over there, actually. So, and no doubt talking about the ALET, top 4 out of 5 ranks actually out there. So I would say it's definitely a moment of proud. And on behalf of entire CL family, I would like to thank as well as congratulate these young achievers for giving us this proud moment. Utkarsh, Dhruv, Tejashwini, Divyanshi, Anandita, Prakrit, and Shruti. She is not here, by the way, right now at this point of time. In fact, I would say this is your show. This is your journey.
No, Shruti is here. Shruti is here. Okay. She joined.
Yeah, wonderful. So this is your journey we are going to talk about. This session is all about your journey to the law school, your dream about a legal career, how you went for that actually, what was those ups and downs in your life. What you'll be talking today will be a point of motivation for all the younger generations to come actually. So in fact, especially the juniors who will be writing the exams next year and next to next year. So I would say congratulations for this wonderful feat, for this wonderful achievement. You are an example of what success is all about. You are an example of what grit and determination is all about. I would say you are an example of what planning and time management is all about. Because everybody has a dream, but not many people are able to follow that. But you have been there, you have done that. And through your journey today, a lot of youngsters will get motivated. They'll get to know what it takes to crack these examinations, what it takes to get into a top law school actually of the country. So I think your presentation today, your thoughts today are going to be very, very valuable for them. You also need to understand they are no aliens. Many a times I come across this questions, or rather this statement that toppers are a different material altogether. No, they are humans like you and me. So if I talk about Dhruv or Tejashwini is already laughing out there. So there's a cute smile on her face, I would say. Because all of these guys actually, so they were similar to you when they joined us 2 years ago or 1 year ago for the programs. But they did something different actually. First of all, they had that dream in their mind. So these guys had that dream in their mind, and this they wanted to achieve at any cost actually. And for that, they prepared well actually. So they planned their journey all throughout. They understood, they knew what it takes to, and with little bit of guidance and more, I would say, with guidance and support from their parents, their mentors, they have been able to achieve this today. So big shout out to the mentors out there who are also part of these sessions today. I have been quite frequently connected with Devashish and Sudhanshu, but yes, my congratulations to Dipankar, Vishal, all of you out there. You have done a fabulous job actually. So all the students out there, please be attentive during this session, listen to these young achievers and definitely learn from their achievement, what it takes to be there. And next year, I'm sure a lot more of you would be part of this journey where I'll be congratulating you. I'll be discussing on similar lines. Hopefully next year it will be more of a physical mode. This time, unfortunately, we have to do it online because of the pandemic, but hopefully I will meet you all in Bhubaneshwar sometime. To all the parents out there who are part of this session, who are attending the session and who are very keen to listen to this young achievers, I have just one thing to say. It's all about self-belief of that child actually. And I'm sure you are doing all your bit to encourage them, to motivate them. I personally believe every child is brilliant. Every child is genius, actually. And it just takes a little bit of effort from our end, from your end, actually, to take them through and to achieve that success. For any student preparing for the entrance exam, I believe it's not just that student preparing for the exam, it's their entire family who prepares for the exam. So in fact, there have been instances where students have told, in fact, a session before this, a student, actually young achiever, told me that if you go and ask my dad about legal reasoning, he can talk about that actually. So because while I was preparing, he used to listen to my classes actually, and he has learned a lot. He probably might give a CLAT and he'll get a better score than me. So it's, yes, I would say that it's the parents, it's the siblings, all the family members are part of this success story. So once again, a shout out to the parents of these young achievers. If you're listening to me, I congratulate you, and I must say thank you from our behalf. That it's a wonderful feat your kids have done actually, and we are as proud as you are. For all the parents who are attending the session and whose kids will be taking up the session exams next year, be assured, I think these kids, there's no element of doubt, and they would definitely bring success next year once they go through their preparation module for next 10 months, 12 months, or 20 months, whatever the case may be.
Thank you, Amitendra. So over to Vishal for the next set of proceedings.
Good evening all, and yes, congratulations from my end. I would personally again congratulate each one of you. You've done us proud, and today is an opportunity where we not only celebrate your success, but we also pass on all the wisdom that you've gathered in the last 1 year, 2 year, depending on how much time you've given to this, to the next batch of students who are going to prepare for the same exam. Now, we have an interesting group of students over here. So achievers over here, rather. There are some who have been probably very talented and brilliant right from beginning. There's another set of people who have shown a lot of grit, who've had their share of failures. They've been resilient. They've been hardworking all throughout. But there's one thing common between all these achievers, and that is being ambitious. I think that is one thing that is required by all of you. So some would perhaps, at different stages of life, if you come across any kind of success, you'll find that there are some successes which come naturally to you. You're good at something. There are some for which you'll have to fight, and it will be applicable to all of you. So we are not just talking about this exam, but in general, that is always going to happen. But there are two things that we require. One is to be ambitious. Two, I think all of you would agree that you have to be consistent. Now, I would request that all students at any point of time, if you have any questions, please do ask them. All the achievers are here and they will be, I'm sure they'll be glad to answer each one of them. Now, I would want, especially the people who've done it for the first time or be it for the second time, I would want one question to be answered. Again, it could be any of you. I don't want to name anybody as such. Does this preparation get boring at times? I mean, you are on the right track and then suddenly you lose off steam. You suddenly realize I'm doing the same thing over and over again. So how do you keep yourself motivated? Let's start from there. And I would want ideas to pour in from all of you. So please get started. Any of you.
If I could go first, sir, I would say that if one does not fall into a rut, if one does not plateau at all, then that means they've not been preparing hard enough. It's a sign of exhaustion is a sign of hard work. So if you've been preparing consistently, you've been preparing your heart out, then a time would come when you would feel like you're not improving as well as you thought you would. I mean, a rut is nothing but a point where you feel like your marginal productivity is not up to your expectations. So, yeah, definitely a lot of times ruts came more frequently than I would have imagined during my CLAT prep. And I think getting out of them involved a process of identifying what caused the rut. For example, analyzing my past mocks and identifying what was going wrong in that, and then working upon them. And the only way to get out of the rut is when you see your next mock score up to your expectations. So if you keep working on your past scores, then I think that's the best way to get out of it.
Great. And it's still early days for a lot of our students. So how important it is to start on the right note. So people, how would you suggest them to start? Yes, Dhruv.
Like I said earlier as well to all the teachers, I'm like the kind of person who started like really late. I was very motivated in the beginning for the past 2 to 3 months, and then I fell off. I was not consistent, which I would not want any of my juniors to be. I'd suggest to start right now. Like anyone who asks me ki bhaiya kaise start kare abhi, is it too late, is it too early, what should we do? I suggest everyone, like each and everyone, ki you should start right now. Do not spend any more of your time doing other things, especially if you're in 11th and if you're appearing for 2023. This is the exact time when you should start your studies, because 12th there will be a lot of other things. You'll have your boards ka pressure, you will have other competitive exams to prepare for. So easily start right now. How I started, once I was a little bit too late, I gave 2 mocks. I did not give just one because I thought alag difficulty rehta in different mocks. I gave 2 mocks and then I saw my stronger sections, my weaker sections, and then I started working upon my weaker sections and so on. So I think that would be a good strategy for you to start your preparation. But all in all, I'd suggest you to start like right now. Get in touch with your teachers, with your counselors, ask them how do we do it, but do not waste any more time of yours. It's very important for you to start early on rather than keep it on the schedule for a time being and start later. Because I think if you ask any achiever, be it Utkarsh or Prakrit or Tejaswini or anyone, they have been consistent. And being consistent is very important in an exam like CLAT. And practice is the key. So like you said, even being exhausted in the beginning, it will happen after a certain point of time, but it is a good sign. If you get exhausted, if you practice enough, then your paper is going to be just like another mock, right? You'll feel like, okay, like I've done this before, it's not going to be anything new and it's going to be a piece of cake, honestly. So yes, all in all, you should like start right now and practice as much as you can.
Absolutely. Well spoken. And there's one more very interesting story. So Prakrit, you've taken a huge risk. Let's talk about you.
Sir, the risk about letting go the college.
I think it's better that you let everyone know the risk that I'm referring to. It should come out of you only.
As sir said, I fortunately enough, I got through NLU Odisha last year. There was no particular reason to attribute to letting go of that particular college. It's a great college, of course. It's one of the 21 national law universities, but somehow I still wasn't satisfied with my performance, and somewhere I had a doubt that probably there is a chance that I can score better. And there were a lot of possible reasons. Probably could be that that was the first time with the new pattern. So I somehow convinced myself that yes, I don't have a lot of time which would be lost because of the drop, because no one knew that again CLAT would be in July. I thought, yes, it won't be a complete drop. There are only 6 to 7 months and I should just practice more. So finally, after consulting with teachers, mentors and parents, I did take a decision to drop the year and take CLAT 2021 again.
Anindita?
So my GK was pathetic. Like everyone knows, even when I was in school, like I was so happy when in class 9, like we didn't have GK anymore. That was the happiest news for of the year for me. So GK was something that I always hated, but then I realized like for CLAT I have to do that. So GK, I would say something that I experimented a lot with GK. I made a lot of changes with my plan, which is something I don't recommend. Choose your sources from the beginning. Like experiment in the beginning. You have time now. You experiment and choose the right sources and stick with it. Like stick to them so that you like don't face the problem I had to. Because in the end, it was a lot, and ultimately my score wasn't that great. But I'm happy I gave my best.
Right. And now speaking of resilience, so again, Tejaswini, you spent close to 2 years, more than 2 years preparing for this exam, and
Yes,
you've had
yes.
your share of highs and lows. So what is your advice to all the students who are going to appear for the same in the next 2 years?
I would like to highlight 3 points. Like I did a lot of mistake last year, which was like not sticking with the mentors, which is very important. You should stick with the mentors because they will guide you where you are going wrong or whether you are going right. So it is very important. I wasn't in touch at all with the teachers, so I actually didn't improve a lot. So I would suggest ki, please be in touch with the teachers. Like Vishal sir and I were working together on my mock scores and all. So he really helped me to improve. So yeah, stick with the mentors, and also like apart from academics part, because टीचर्स यहाँ पे है, तुम लोगों को बोल देंगे कि मॉक्स कैसे देना है, ये देना है, वो सब तो तुम लोग कर लोगे. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट आई वुड लाइक टू सजेस्ट कि टेक केयर ऑफ योर मेंटल हेल्थ, फिजिकल हेल्थ, मेडिटेट करना एंड एक्सरसाइज करना, ये सब एक्चुअली बहुत बहुत हेल्प करेगा. इट विल बूस्ट अप योर प्रिपरेशन whole time. I think I did that and it helped me a lot. And also I would suggest कि schedule your day. बहुत लोग ऐसे होते हैं कि ऐसे like random होते हैं, पढ़ने से पहले schedule नहीं करते. So I would suggest कि schedule your properly and it will help a lot. So yeah, these 3 points I think it's really helped me a lot.
The moment CLAT pattern changed, there was one thing which I realized immediately, that Divyanshi is going to do well. I still remember, Divyanshi, when you came in for the class, all I noted was there was a novel with you, and every time you came to the class, there was some book or the other that you were carrying. So I guess that played a huge role in your success.
I mean, it did and it didn't, because it really distracted me and I couldn't focus on the things that were important. I had to force myself to leave my books and focus on other topics as well. But as someone was saying that it's really important to start early, and I did start early. I joined Career Launcher when I was in 11th grade, but and going to classes there was like the favorite part of my entire week. I used to wait for Sundays to go to class and interact with people, interact with teachers. It was amazing. But then there was a small hiccup called the pandemic, and we had to stop, unfortunately. And I think after that, it was sort of a really tough battle with trying to keep myself motivated, trying to understand what was happening in the world and try to keep my dream alive, because for a while it seemed like nothing was going to happen and everything was just going to go to waste. And I think that is an important part of your preparation that nobody really tells you about, is that when your the normal course that your life would have taken gets disrupted and it gets totally off track, how to bring it back and how to keep yourself sane through it all. So I think for that, I would recommend just talk to your parents maybe, and treat life like it's just another adventure, and have fun while you're studying, because there's no point in studying if you're not having fun. So have fun and have faith in yourself, be confident, think like you can do it, and keep yourself give yourself pep talks once in a while. I think I really did that a lot. So and have fun. Yeah, that is one of the things that has worked for me, is that the past month before I was going for CLAT was very tough. I had to do, I had to like push myself a lot. So having fun, singing, dancing once in a while was really great. And also, yeah, do read. That's very important, as Sir said. Read, because books are amazing. They'll help you a lot with everything. So read, and yeah, that's it. Don't forget to have fun. Thank you.
Hello. Now, what we will do is, I haven't had the opportunity to congratulate Tejasvi and Devyanshu, because I haven't had the opportunity to talk to them personally. So many congratulations, and to all of you guys as well. And so one thing is this, that the main point about today's discussion was not to have a straight face interview, rather to have a discussion. So we should talk about some issues which are pertinent to the society as well. I am talking about you guys being Sharma ji's betas betis right now, because apparently तुम्हारे environment में भी इतना ही pressure आएगा, right? So when you talk about this and being Sharma ji's beta beti right now, how different was your mental space when you're preparing, and how comfortable are you right now? Like, what's going on in your head? What success has taught you somehow, apart from a lot of interviews though? So we'll start with Dhruv, and we'll have about a 2-minute part about how you guys feel. Dhruv, you can go ahead.
The one thing that my parents and my teachers always told me was, कि abhi stop binging right now, you'll have a lot of time after you're done with your CLAT, right? So अपने Netflix, Amazon Prime वगैरह सब बंद करो and start studying, because you'll have ample amount of time. And a lot of people might be telling you this as well, and I just want to like support this. It is absolutely true, because right now I have literally nothing to do, and I think I can speak for the other achievers and the people who gave CLAT as well, because it's like a purpose रहता है, right? Like, yeah, I'm preparing for CLAT, I have to get this done, but after you're done with it, you literally have nothing left to do. You don't have a purpose, so you can binge all day, all night. So a year or two, it's a very small part of your life for to sacrifice for a greater achievement, right? So thoda sa, like there's this saying, right? No pain, no gain. And the reason it's so famous is because it's true. आप थोड़ा सा sacrifice करिए, उसके बाद the feeling, the overwhelmed feeling you get when you score good, like I can't really explain it. I mean, all the sacrifice that you put in, the months, the years, it's all worth it at the end. And that's why I tell everyone to start right now, because hard work is something that you will not regret. Gaining knowledge, no one can steal knowledge from you, right? And when it gets a bit tense, I'd like Tejaswini said, I used to meditate. Meditation is very important for you. It helped with my anxiety, it helped with my confidence, and it helped staying focused as well, because for that 2 hours of your day, you have to be 200% focused on your paper. So up meditate kariye, chill रहिए, because it's not something to worry about. Like Sharma ji का बेटे वाला हालत नहीं है, because I was someone who used to sleep at 4 a.m. and I used to get up at 12 p.m. वो थोड़ा habit I changed, and it was like छोटे changes in your habits can be really helpful, right? And I have been in your position. I've been scared कि there are like 60-70,000 people and I have to get into the top 500, and I've been really scared as well. So आराम से talk to your teachers, meditate, it will really help. And the most important thing is to start right now and be persistent, because it's all going to be worth it at the end. So thank you.
Rakesh,
That's it from
you've
my end.
always been chilled out as you are right now. How is it? How does it feel being on the other side of it when you're done with the exams or done with the preparation? No mocks, because you know how analyzing the mocks is one of the most boring yet effective things are. How does it feel right now?
I'm not sure if I speak for everyone here, but for those who were with CL last year, like not just metaphorically, we quite literally had a Sharma ji ka beta moment. So Aditya Sharma, who got a great rank, was classmate. I used to attend school with him. So another thing is, our motivation should not lean upon someone who is facing a lot of wishes, or let's say these interviews, that is, or that I want to attend a particular college, that is probably very short lasting. It will end in a week or month at most. In my opinion, what is the most strongest source of motivation is, we should like the subject per se, and if you like the subject, it will force us to get deeper into each and every nuance. There will be no requirement of a teacher asking you to do this and then improve upon that. And secondly, yes, even if we prepare for 2 years, 2 months, or irrespective of the amount of time that has been put in, I remember it was a very unique moment, because it is probably very rare that an entrance exam result is declared on 12 a.m. So that 2 to 3 minutes of waiting for the scorecard, and as soon as you see whatever rank or score you have got, it is a clear realization that yes, everything has been worth it. So once you get there, any amount of time, any amount of sacrifices, as Dhruv said, it will all prove to be worth it. And as Sir said, analyzing mocks, not giving mocks was the most important mistake that I committed in the preparation last year. I probably faced a lot of scoldings from Vishal sir and Sudhanshu sir in my PTMs as well. But that did not require to be continued, because once I started giving mocks and then analyzing, it had a very direct and tangible results, which could be seen in the mock scores, the improvement. So again, as someone pointed out, that as soon as you see even an improvement of 1 mark or 1 percentile, or even one, or but let's say 10 to 20 ranks have improved, there needs to be no external push. You will automatically give in more efforts.
And of course, we have one of the achievers, Divyanshu, who's been traveling as of yet. So I would assume that this traveling also fits the part of the itinerary where you're chilling after the exams. So the first question is that, where are you traveling to? Second question is that, how does it feel after the success?
Actually, the traveling part is very sad. One of my aunts met with an accident, so we have to go and see her right now, and we're taking care of her at her home. So we are going to see her now. So sorry for the lighting and everything. And there is a chilling part is it did not exist for me, because after my exam got over, I felt like I had completely screwed it up. I felt like I had done all the questions wrong and just made all of the reasoning, everything wrong. And I honestly felt like I had absolutely just screwed everything up. But it kind of, after a while, it kind of started to sink in that after the answer key came out, actually, it started to sink in that it's I did not make as many mistakes as I thought I did. It was fine. And after that, it's been calm, and it's been nice to just have a moment to myself and just think about what to do in the future and everything else. And to go to an NLU is like, it still seems like a dream. It still seems so far away, but it's nice. Yeah, I would say it's worth it. It's definitely worth all the hard work and everything that you put in. So just give it your all, because this feeling that you get after you are through and after you get into an NLU is something that is indescribable, but it's great. Trust me, it's great. So go for it.
Shruti, are you there? You've been with us for a while now, and this time also you were preparing for the second time. So tell us about your journey.
So my journey, to be honest, is very beautiful one. Last year I couldn't clear CLAT because some mistakes I did. I didn't analyze it upon very nicely, because some mistakes were like, okay, this one is the mistake. I didn't pay heed to it, and I realized it when I started preparing it for the 2021. So this time. Uh, my preparation was less of hard work and more of smart work, because I slept for the 7 to 8 hours. My preparation was not like sleeping at 1 and waking up too early and all that. It was a smooth one. I gave mocks, I prepared my current affairs, read it well. In fact, I can say one thing very confidently, that I was chilled out throughout this year. Till 22nd July, I was chilled out. Only on the 22nd night, it was horrible. The situation was horrible. Uh, the day I gave the exam on 23rd, I felt the same. I thought that every question of mine is wrong. Even when the answer keys came, I didn't check. I really didn't check. To be very honest, every mentor was texting me that please check, but I really didn't. And 28, I shouldn't say 28, but on 29th, the results came out, and finally I just calmed myself down that yes, it's happening. Even I just logged out from my account. I clicked in once again the username password to see that is it me. So but yeah, that happened.
Yes, Satvik sir.
Hello. Yeah. So congratulations. Yeah. So I was just wondering if I could talk to Prakrit if possible. So there have been like we have been in a lot of discussions on whether like this is something that I really want you to tell others, like how were you preparing for current affairs in the final phase of your preparation, because in the initial stages we had gone through a lot of discussions and all, and then of course the final leg, what did you think worked for you in the final leg? Because if you look at current affairs as a whole, then what was the missing link that you would suggest to the others? Because many of the people, they're giving CLAT along with their board exams. So how do you think they can manage the final phase, like when the boards are on the top of their hair and still managing to stick to the way in which you prepared? So what would you suggest the others, like your juniors here, boards and GK VK कैसे manage करें?
So, sir, one thing probably I would not like to re-emphasize, but everything who is attending this session might have heard from someone or the other is read newspapers. And it is not just because it is very important, but it is very easy to accommodate in the daily schedule, because newspaper is something we don't have to rely on a coaching to provide at a particular date that, okay, event till this time has been completed. So I'm now waiting that the PDF will be released and I'll mug it up and then I'll attempt the questions. It will be available daily. And the most important, the wrong thing I did was that I consolidated a lot of resources initially. So there was always this thing in my mind that I have to complete this PDF followed by that and followed by that. So one thing, as Tejaswini probably said, that we need to trust the resources we are getting. And because as I had already mentioned, that if there is a particular event which the question setter is thinking that I will be putting it in the question paper, it is of utmost importance and every other source would have covered it. And unlike last year, like last year had events which were in the news headlines at some point or the other, like the national education policy or the Indo-China conflict. But some questions this year were too specific in CLAT, I would say, like when did the Sheikh Mujibur Rahman die? They also asked the date, month, and the year. That is something no one expected, but that is something any newspaper article would have certainly mentioned. And that was a very important thing. The visit of our Prime Minister was covered by the newspaper over a week. So I'd say if we kept reading it, there would be at least 2 to 3 times a newspaper would have mentioned that particular date. So this is how even one, and everybody knows that how much the importance of 1 mark is in a competitive examination. More so, I would not say I would be the best person, but I would be the correct person to make people realize how much I have lost because simply wrong sequencing during the marking of OMRs, which probably because of which I lost 6 to 7 marks and more than 200 ranks. So yes, not simply marking the correct or knowing the correct question, the correct answer to the question is important, but marking it correctly. So yes, I'd say don't rely on too many sources, just have the sources and mocks.
So
Every
if you were to divide 100 may say how much percentage of time were you giving actually to the boards and how much was your preparation part?
So boards wasn't really an issue for me because I had taken, I appeared for class 12th last year, and this year I did not have boards. But again, because even if we have boards, there are online classes going on. So at max probably 7 to 8 hours of classes, not more than that, and career launcher classes on the weekends or weekdays. So we need, there cannot be a specific schedule or one schedule fits all kind of a kind of an aim. So everyone needs to carve out their own schedule. And out, if we say that out of maximum of 8 to 9 hours, if someone is studying and there are what around 8 to 9 months, so even if we dedicate 3 hours daily with utmost concentration, it will be very easy. Not very easy, but it would seem very doable towards the end.
Okay. So chalo, it's very nice. I hope that you are enjoying because you've had a tumultuous year. I mean, considering what all you have gone through, just appearing the exam itself was a huge achievement because let's face it, the kind of mental pressure all of us were because of the pandemic and all. So just appearing it was like a relief because we never knew what was going to happen, kaise hoga, kya hoga. So congratulations to all of you for doing so well, and hope all of you do well in the future as well.
How did you manage to concentrate? Like online coaching, then everything going online, right? Be it from school sessions to, let's say, coaching, attending classes. So it's mentally very exhausting. And then again, balancing your school preparations. Of course, let's forget the boards being cancelled or not cancelled. But of course, you were preparing, right? So how did you manage both the things?
I think, sir, as all of you mentioned in your first class with me, at least with our batch, the first thing all of you mentioned was CLAT prep is going to be tough. You will have to manage your boards along with your CLAT prep. But at the end of the day, people do manage both of them. So what you need to remember is that there would be some times in your year when, suppose there's a unit test coming up in a few days and you have to prepare for that and you do not have enough time to give CLAT. Never do the mistake of leaving CLAT aside completely for that 1 week, because if you leave CLAT for 1 week, then it would take you 2 more weeks to get back to where you were before leaving it for that particular week. Even if you can spare like 15-10 minutes a day, give that to CLAT. Just pick up a verbal book, do 2-3 RCs, and just keep practicing and keep maintaining that momentum. There are certain periods in the year, for example, immediately after your exams, you get a period of 2-3 weeks where you don't have any tests and you just have to attend classes and you do not have to prepare that much. In that period, maybe you give 2-3 hours to CLAT every day. So you have to manage your time throughout the year. You will get some time after the boards where you can brush up your skills, but do not leave everything to that 1 month. Before that, also you have to keep preparing. Just maintain your standard. Do not leave CLAT prep for a significant amount of time, and just maintain that momentum. I think that's all that will help you maintain your composure. As for mental health, if you're having a problem with your with managing all of that, if there's a problem with your mental health, then definitely contact your faculty. I'm sure they would help you with identifying a particular course of action that would suit you.
I saw some questions regarding how to manage time
Sure, go ahead,
in the
please.
chat box. Yeah, and I said earlier in my earlier interview as well that people make a rookie mistake, which I made as well. They set their timetable to be too specific. Like I'll get up at 7:30 a.m. I'll take a bath till 8. I'll study from 8 to 12, then lunch from 12 to 12:30. And the problem with that kind of a timetable is you cannot possibly follow it for a long period of time. And it does not necessarily that the distractions have to be negative. Sometimes your mom will call you for an early lunch. Sometimes a teacher will give you a call, which will last about 30 minutes. And the thing, what happens after that is कि लगता है अब आधा एक घंटा चला गया, अब कल से will start again. And then we waste the whole day because of that kind of a reassurance which we give to ourselves. So how I tackled that personally, which I'd suggest to some of my juniors as well, I used to jot down the important points, the important goals which I have to cover for the next day on the previous night. What I did was, for example, I have to solve about 100 quants ke questions. I have to cover up 5 current affairs ke topics, and I have to solve about 100 critical reasoning ke questions as well. So even if I was out the whole day on the following day, I used to, even if I came back at around 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., my focus was to complete these goals according to my comfort. And it was not subject to some kind of a timetable that was too rigid to follow on a continuous time period. So even if you're worried about how to manage boards and CLAT ka prep as well, I'd suggest you to just, even if it's boards, just jot down, so I'll complete 2 or 3 chapters tomorrow, and I'll complete about 100 questions of CLAT tomorrow, and just focus on getting those goals completed rather than thinking I'll give about 4 hours to this or 5 hours to that. Because kya hota hai, what I noticed was, like, if my point was to cover about 100 critical reasoning questions, who does not want to get off early, right? So I used to solve them as fast as possible. So the advantage to that is, instead of giving 2 hours to it and solving about 50 questions, 60 questions, I used to solve about 100 questions within 1.5 hours or something. Because I wanted to get over with it early on, which helped with my speed as well. So that's what I would suggest to someone who's struggling with handling boards and CLAT, because solving questions fast, it cannot possibly be a disadvantage, because solving questions fast is actually really helpful for a competitive exam like CLAT.
Sir, if you permit, I would like to take up the questions regarding GKs.
Sure.
Okay, all right. So I think if you'll attend Satvik sir's first class, he will probably suggest कि बहुत सारे charts में यही आ रहा है कि we are finding it boring and all, but Satvik sir यही suggest करेंगे कि enjoy it. Don't just learn it for the exam purpose, but do it for life. So if you do that, you won't find it boring. Like it's GK exactly is very, very interesting. So regarding resources and all of my friends like told already, sources बहुत limit रखना है, बहुत limit as in मंथन आपको जैसे भी करना है, because मंथन is really helpful. Except that, find out the important events and newspaper से उसके बारे में like notes prepare करो. Notes करना बहुत important है. Exceptions होते हैं जिनको notes नहीं होने से चलता है, but I would suggest कि notes बनाओ. So newspapers को resource ही रखो, newspaper source बस वही रखो and मंथन, that will be fine. And if you are finding it boring, please enjoy it, engage with it, learn from it. So if you do that, I don't think you will find it boring.
Okay, if I may, I'd like to add to that a bit, because I think all the kids who are saying that GK is boring and they don't like it, I think I personally relate to you a lot, because when I started with my CLAT prep, I absolutely abhorred GK. I did not like it at all. I used to score single digit numbers in GK all the time. And this preparation has been a kind of journey which has led me from absolutely hating GK to absolutely loving it. And I think once you really start getting into the thick of it and start reading daily and reading from different sources, don't just stick to one newspaper, read different stories about the same issue, read different articles, because a lot of people have different point of views. Once you start like listening to different point of views, then you start creating your own point of view. And when you are actually interested in what's happening and what's going on, then you really have it stored in your head. So I would say just have just take interest in GK, because it's a really interesting subject and it could do wonders for you in your CLAT when you go give your examination, because it's a really important section. It can give you a lot of marks. So if you're not that strong in English or not that strong in maths, I would suggest just go for GK, because it's actually, if you once you start reading about it, once you start reading about issues, you'll really start to feel like you are learning something that is really going to help you. So I suggest please go for it.
So one last point regarding the newspaper is someone asked how to make the habit of newspaper reading fun. So at Utkarsh, as Utkarsh pointed out, there is a development every day, and in the editorial section, even on a single topic on a single day, we might find two editorials by two authors who have polar opposite views. And again, CLAT has been heavily relying on impact-based questions, not just pure direct facts. So all in all, we when we are reading opinionated articles on a particular news, indirectly that's strengthening our reading, and somewhere or the other they are strengthening or weakening others and their points. So it will be helping you in critical reasoning as well over the point of time, not directly via questions, but understanding that how a particular person is strengthening his or her own view on a current event. And this year, probably in critical reasoning, there was no topic on philosophy or fiction. Every topic was related to COVID. And if we are in touch with reality and articles based on COVID, it would have helped everyone who did newspapers. So yes, that's about it.
On a side note, I mean, everything that everyone said was really important, but there are like two extra things that really helped me a lot. The first one was digital flashcards, because writing handwritten notes was kind of a burden for me, and carrying 3 to 4 books everywhere, it was kind of too hefty. So what I did was I made digital flashcards, which really helped a lot. And the second thing is speaking while I read, and because our subconscious mind is very, very powerful. So if you read, if there was a date which I could not remember, I repeated it like 10-15 times, like representation of people act 1951 aise karke. So if I read that question in the question paper, if I read representation of people act 1951, automatically came into my mind, and I did not really have to look at other options. So when your parents and teachers say ki bol ke padho, it actually is very important for you. And current affairs mein it can actually help, since 2021 ka paper was kind of static GK centric. So dates can be really you can remember dates really efficiently by speaking what you read.
I have a question. Well, it's not technically a question. So what we see is that if we see an interview of a topper right now of any institution, one thing that common features, and it's apparently also the moral of some stories, that in order to get some success, you have to compromise or sacrifice on some things. Now, when you talk about your career in preparation of CLAT, and of course, let's not kid ourselves, because we know how distracted we are with all these things inside, where you have a FOMO with everything. Maybe food, maybe friends, maybe social media posts. So my question, the first one would be how important it is to sacrifice. Second thing is that how do you make up your mind that you have to sit for at least 4-5 hours, because there is apparently one question I heard कि sir newspaper पढ़ने में boring हो जाता है. I was continuously thinking that अगर newspaper boring होता है तो the CLAT paper is 40 pages. So it's like 3 newspapers at the same time. So how do you break that boring part? How do you make the sacrifice? What has been your experience? I would want Anandita to go at it, because Anandita has been also taking college classes. She's taken admission in some college while preparing.
Like no, so I was in 12th, like BJB Junior College.
BJB, right?
So I would say I did sacrifice on something. So as I mentioned before, like I did not talk to my friends as much as I used to. And another thing was that I loved reading fiction books. That's a habit that I developed in 11th, and then I had to give it up in 12th. Like not exactly give it up, but I started reading a little less in 12th. Also, another thing I didn't mention was like I was never a morning person, but for CLAT, and that really bothered my mother. Even when I was in 10th, she would like constantly, we would argue because I never woke up early. But for CLAT, I started waking up early. Initially, it was hard, but I realized that that was the most productive time for me. So yeah, that's something that I like sacrificed my sleep, which is something I love. And yeah, so sleep, books, and even like friends. But I'm so happy that I have amazing friends. They are still like, the ones that stayed for them. I'm like really happy.
Utkarsh, what about you? What kind of sacrifice we made? Because I saw one interview on YouTube with Jijo, and apparently you had a group as well on WhatsApp where you guys you met some toppers and you had preparing. So you used social media to a better part. That's quite nice. How did you make the sacrifices? What were some of them?
So every time I would look at someone, every time I would scroll across social media, any day I would come across someone's birthday party where I wasn't invited, because I knew that if someone would have invited me, I would have said no. So basically, that outcasted feeling towards the last year, that hurts a lot. But after a while, you get used to it and you understand that you're doing it for a reason. You have a particular goal in mind, and for that goal, you need to sacrifice something. It's very cliched that aise kuch nahi hota, you need to sacrifice something. That's something that everyone would tell you, but it is definitely true, because now after a while, when I look back at it, I'm still not at that position when I can look back at this from a better point of view, but still I would think that it was all worth it, because I used to quiz a lot. I left that. I should not have left that in the last year, but I did a lot. And I used to participate in debates and MUNs. I left that too in the last year, because preparing for that took up a lot of my time. I would not suggest everyone to do that. Please do not leave your hobbies. That affects your mental health a lot. But try to manage along with that. If you think that ज़्यादा time इसमें चला जा रहा है and you're not satisfied with the amount of time you're able to put in your preparation, then it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. That's the simple truth at the end of the day. So yeah, if you try on managing, try on accommodating as many things as you can, but if it's even slightly bordering your study hours, then you have to cut them off, at least for the time being.
And all right, so we have got one question, which is also one of the most primordial questions throughout this preparation. Some people have problem with English. Some people have problem with, reasoning, but all of us have problem with quant. How do you go about quant? Quant is 10 marks, 15 marks. You know in your deepest heart of hearts that if you go for 7 questions, aa jayenge 5-6. But that anxiety of reaching math section is something which somewhat we need to cross out. Let's go for Tejaswini. How did you counter the maths problem?
I'm not the best person to suggest about maths, because I was really weak in maths. But the thing that helped me a lot is कि पहले से from the beginning, like don't fear about it. So find out, identify the subjects like profit and loss, ये हुआ, या फिर एवरेज हुआ, जो भी लाइक तुम्हारा जो भी तुम कर सकते हो, आइडेंटिफाई दोस टॉपिक्स एंड प्रैक्टिस देम फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग. लाइक डोंट कीप इट एट द एंड कि 2-3 महीने के पहले ही बस करूंगा या फिर ये मत करो. फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग आइडेंटिफाई दोस टॉपिक्स एंड प्रैक्टिस देम एंड इट विल हैपन ओवर टाइम. I mean, I did it. I mean, I scored, I think, 4.75. I couldn't even score, I think, 0. I was on 0 or 1. So I think I improved a lot. Like 5 is big achievement for me. So I think that will help कि identify करो, and calculation part is very important. Calculate करो, and table ये होता है कि हम तो बचपन में पढ़ते थे, but I think that will help. Table भी याद करो, calculation part, and identify the topics. करो, practice करो. I think that will be great.
So I have a suggestion. I have a suggestion. So before attending the class, just go through the topic because it helps a lot. I personally did that, and we had a lot of maths classes, one after other, scheduled one after other. And because I was attending the classes sincerely, it helped a lot. I didn't even have maths in 11th, 12th, but because I was attending the classes sincerely and I was preparing for the class before the class, so it helped a lot. And yeah, That's it.
Divyanshu, what's your take about the quant section? Is it really important to, to call up Amit sir and Sudhanshu sir every morning and tell them this is maths problem ho raha hai? So can you handle it on your own?
I think with maths, my thing was because I was a science student, so maths wasn't my weakest section by any means, but it wasn't my strongest either. So I was so with maths. My only goal was to attempt at least 10 questions and get like most of them correct, even though not taking into factor the fact that CLAT just decided to put in some wrong questions. I mean, that doesn't matter. Sometimes that happens, but you really need to just focus on getting those few topics that CLAT really focuses on correct and practicing those, because those topics are the only ones you are likely to get questions from. So just practice those few chapters and clear your doubts and just keep practicing. I would say give it like a good 30 minutes every single day and you should be good. And I would say like the last few months are very integral when it comes to maths, because you tend to forget if you're practicing something a year ago and then you're trying to remember that right now, it gets it's not easy, and you tend to forget. So I would suggest really practicing all chapters of maths, all important chapters of maths, just like a few months before CLAT, up till CLAT, so that you have everything under control and you can easily attempt like 10, 12 questions without giving away all of your time. So that's my strategy.
If I might add,
I would just like to say here something that there have been many questions about GK not being interesting and all, but you see that the previous abhi jo hai yahan pe, all of them have said like they have all said that GK was very interesting, and I'm seeing that all of you guys are saying GK is what I think even Dipankar will agree with this, that the difference between their batch and your batch is just two words: Donald Trump. Okay, उनके time पे Trump था, so GK was very interesting because something or the other very surprising or awkward was happening every day. ठीक है, so you don't have Donald Trump with you, so GK is boring. So ये और कुछ नहीं है, this is only difference is Trump. So I hope that Biden just inherits that excitement and all, ताकि at least CLAT के बच्चों को हमको थोड़ा interesting कुछ करने को मिले. But I think that's the only difference. Trump made GK very interesting last class. आधा क्लास तो हमारा ट्रम्प के बारे में डिस्कशन करते ही चला जाता था, and that is lacking this time.
Sir, if I might add something about quants, so a few months ago, one of my friends sent me her mock scores and I was just going through it. So she had got a 0 in maths. But what shocked me was, even though she had got a 0, she was in the 33rd percentile. So that just shows you that 30% of people have not even attempted maths in that paper. At the end of the day, not to sound sadistic, but in CLAT, you have to eliminate your opponents, basically. Your opponents, let's say your opponents. At the end of the day, you have to eliminate your opponents, basically. So even if you attempt, even if you get 5-6 questions right, you're basically scoring more than 80% of the people. That's like already you're in the top 12,000. Abhi tumhara baki scores matter karta hai na. So just to give that final boost to your score, maths is very important. Agar is saal if you look at the rank list, one of my friends got 102 and she's at rank 130, and I got 3 marks more than her and I got 70 ranks above her. So if you look at it at the end of the day, those 3 marks could have been maths. So it could be the difference between a top 3 college and no NLU for you. So maths is very crucial. You cannot let maths go at all.
Absolutely. And I think interestingly, there's a question about legal. I know all of you people, I literally had to negotiate with you people कि legal को इतना time मत दो. It's important. कोई बोलता है 40 minutes देगा, कोई बोलता है 50 minutes. Some people went on to the extent of 1 hour. So yes, but still there is one question that how did you handle legal, any specific strategy? So I want this to come from somebody whose favorite was not legal. That will be the right thing to do. Any of you?
I
Yeah, I'm
I
watching. I'm
wouldn't
right here. I'm watching.
I wouldn't exactly say that my favorite was not legal, but my strong point, like my strongest section, would have to be critical reasoning because the passages were shorter, so I got over with that pretty fast. But the thing with with legal is, when I used to attend the Pankaj sir's class, there was a point of time where I started finding the questions too easy. So I asked the Pankaj sir, "Ki sir, questions बहुत easy हो जा रहे हैं. What should I do next? How can I improve?" So he told me to, अगर आपके questions बहुत easy are, if you get a good accuracy about like 4 out of 5 या 5 out of 5, then try reading the passage faster. So what I did was, आप अगर if you practice a lot, if you exhaust yourself, you'll understand the fact कि 50% से ज़्यादा questions जो legal के हैं, they will be about contracts and marriages, because there's a certain ambit to which they can ask a person who's just graduated high school. वरना आप अभी क्लैट नहीं, आप बार का एग्जाम दे रहे होते, आपको कॉलेज जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ती, है ना? तो आपको क्या करना है, practice as much as you can, and after a certain point of time, try solving the questions without looking at the passage. अगर आप कोई लीगल का क्वेश्चन छोड़ते हैं तो इट शुड बी बिकॉज आपको क्वेश्चन नहीं आता था, नॉट बिकॉज कि आप वो क्वेश्चन देख ही नहीं पाए. तो लीगल में आई मीन अ लॉट ऑफ माई सीनियर्स एज वेल एज माई पीयर्स कंप्लेन्ड अबाउट द फैक्ट कि द लीगल सेक्शन वाज वेरी लेंदी, एंड उसकी वजह से पेपर के बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस छूट गए. इट if you start solving the questions without looking at the passage, lengthiness of the paper will never be an issue for you. ऐसे मेरे लिए भी issue नहीं था. And you will come to a point, if you complete legal, I gave legal about 25 minutes because मैंने अपने CLAT के पेपर में about 30% of the questions I've solved without looking at the passage at all, है ना? क्योंकि आपको बस eliminate करना है. Elimination is a trick that you'll learn after you solve a lot of questions, and बहुत सारे questions will be कि आपको odd one out ही निकालना पड़ेगा. What cannot be inferred, what cannot be the conclusion, what is not stated at the passage, that is basically an odd one out question, है ना? And जो options गलत होंगे, they will be very absurd. ठीक है? तो आपको क्या करना है, आपको अच्छे से पैसेजेस को प्रैक्टिस करना है, एंड फिर आप देखेंगे कि पैसेजेस इन सम वे और द अदर रिपीट होने लगेंगे. ठीक है? आप अगर इफ यू सॉल्व अ लॉट ऑफ पैसेजेस, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स के पैसेजेस, मैरिजेस के पैसेजेस, सेडिशन के पैसेजेस, वो सब रिपीट होने लगते हैं, तो आप सीधा क्वेश्चंस में जाइए, and if you read like the first two lines or the last two lines of the passage, you have a very clear idea of what the questions will be about, है ना? तो try solving after getting a good accuracy, try solving the questions without looking at the passage, and legal section being a lengthy one will not be an issue for you.
Right. Now, coming to one more question. So, we all know for sure that Utkarsh, you've worked in a group. I don't know if there are other students also who form their own group. So how does it work? I mean, see, when you are in a group, then it can also lead to a lot of waste of time, and it can also be very productive. So how do you balance it out, and how does it work?
So I would be lying if I said that in my group, it never wasted time. We did a lot, but I think it's part of the fun of studying in a group, because if you are in a group, what happens is that your hours of studying and recreation somehow merge and become the same. You think you're not studying, you think you're taking a break, but in reality, even in those peer discussions, you learn a lot. You learn a lot, you gain a lot from their lines of reasoning. In my case, we discussed a lot of GK in my group. We discussed a lot of GK. We did some reasoning questions, and how it helped me was, suppose after a mock, I do not agree with certain answers, then we would discuss all of them. We would sort of try and judge all of our lines of reasoning, and that really helped me gain a lot in my reasoning skills, which is basically 90% of your CLAT paper. The 135 questions are reasoning based. So I think that helped a lot. But one thing that you need to remember is that your group needs to match with your level of prep at a particular stage. It cannot be that one of you has completed everything and is just basically solving questions just for fun, and the rest of you are like trying to become better, because if you're not at the same pace, then none of you are going to gain from the group. So you need to have like-minded people, and you do not need to stay in a group just for the sake of staying in a group. It was it's not. There's a lot of toppers this year who have given interviews in groups and all. Don't let that intimidate you. Don't go looking out for Tinder groups or something for study buddies, but just try and focus on your preparation. And if you have the good fortune of coming across people who are like-minded and who you think you would gain from, then certainly by all means uh, discuss with them.
Would anyone like to throw light on how to improve on vocabulary? So I know there are many of you who are avid readers right from beginning. So perhaps vocabulary was already a strong area for you people. But people who struggled and then eventually emerged out of it. So what exactly should be the strategy to improve your vocabulary and how important is it? Because mostly what we can see CLAT lately is asking contextual meaning and not exactly literal meaning. And they're not again going into very difficult words. But still, any advices from your end?
I was someone who's never been an avid reader. Before 11th, I hated reading a lot. I've probably read about 3 or 4 books in my life, and CLAT में इतना सारा reading was a very new to me. But vocabulary never turned out to be a problem for me because, like you said, sir, कि contextual vocabulary is the game in CLAT right now. So my suggestion to anyone who's watching this would be to just practice as much as you can, and you will come across a lot of new words. And when you reading editorials in the newspaper is very important, and when you come across a word that you do not know about, just search it up right then and there, because if you do that, अगर वापस वो word आया तो then it won't be a problem for you. And reading editorials जिसमें CLAT uses a lot of words that you can use in day-to-day lives, and editorials follow the same kind of a pattern. So reading editorials is very important in newspapers, and coming across words that you have no idea about, try searching it up. And I think that should be it. Just practice a lot. You do not really have to mug up vocabulary, alog se, because this is CLAT and not ALET.
I would like to add one more point. That will be word power made easy. It's not practically made you to mug up, but actually it will help you. So word power made easy kar loge to you will have a wider area. So word power made easy you should do. And like Dhruv said, all of he said will help.
One point I'd like to mention is that simply learning words or any particular book, like if we find, for example, like 5 to 6 words in a newspaper, what a lot of people do, and I myself started with that practice, is I noted down 5 to 6 words followed by their meaning. And that did not help me out because all those 5 to 6 words are nowhere related to each other. And I remember we were advised to make word clusters, and nowhere in CLAT the question, unlike as mentioned by Dhruv, like ALET is asking that what is the meaning of this. It is either asking synonym or the contextual meaning or the antonym. So if we make a cluster of a particular word, and a cluster as in we have a word, its meaning, its synonym, its antonym, and the root, which of course can be found in word power made easy, that will be leading us to 4 or 5 new words itself. And moreover, it will overall it will be making the task easier.
And if I might add, there's a reason Dipankar sir ka first class me always tells you to do word per made easy, because vocabulary is a process. It's not a couple of days me you mug up 100 words and then you understand, and then you all those 100 words will only come in CLAT. There's a 97% chance that the words you mug up during a prep will not be asked in CLAT. It's a process. It's a process of building your ideas. So if you start, just pick a selfish motive, just start learning words to sound smarter. I still have a document open on the other tab where I've noted down words even though my CLAT prep is over. I want to do that because I want to inculcate that in my speaking and my writing. So it's a process. If you keep mugging it up for CLAT only, then it won't help you, because you won't find the motivation in the phases where you start getting exhausted from your CLAT prep. So just latch on to something else instead of CLAT every time.
Many of you are saying maths is important. You should not ignore it. But what about people who hate it? How do you make them fall in love with it? At least enough to answer 5 to 7 questions.
First, I think it would be important to get out of the bubble that we can achieve a lot of marks without even attempting maths, because it is probably clear that except maths and general knowledge, every section has been surrounded by a lot of subjectivity, because before the official answer key, there were a lot of questions for which even the faculties of probably every institution were like, we need to wait, because there are possibilities of even 3 questions being the correct answer, unlike which is a very rare possibility in, let's say, general knowledge and maths, because it is a very objective section. And once you've attempted maths, and we are even as early as getting out of the particular examination center, we know that we have attempted this many questions, and at least these many marks are something which I am securing on positive side, and we know that how much marks we're getting from that particular section, and there is no scope of subjectivity involved there. So that first of all makes it very evident that we cannot ace the examination without attempting maths. And coming to the point of how to start liking the particular subject, even if we don't like, even I started with the score of 0, 1, 2, and it was very discouraging to see that a lot of people are ahead of me in spite of scoring less in other subjects, but they have scored good in math. So as Utkarsh said, that even when we start attempting, let's say 7 or 8 questions, we will see that we are already ahead of a lot of people. So I'd say that it is not possible to promise someone that if you do maths after 8 months, you'll get a great result. So if we are getting something out of it on a regular basis, like let's say we are seeing a tangible result of putting effort in the very next mock, it will help.
Okay. Now, Divyanshi, I have a question for you. You being a science student, I think would have faced this challenge more often about balancing your studies. So I know this has been answered earlier by others, but in your case, you had a set of subjects which was completely different, right? So how did you balance your science curriculum along with CLAT preparation and then ace the exam the way you have done?
So, as you said, science subjects are very different from subjects that are involved in CLAT. And that was something that I struggled a lot with in 11th, right, and in 12th. Because in 12th, there was the added uncertainty about exams not being conducted or being conducted or when they would be conducted. So there was a lot of uncertainty surrounding it. There was a lot of pressure on both ends to do well. So I couldn't just completely leave my board preparations, nor could I leave completely my CLAT preparations. And that left me in a kind of a two boards situation. So I had to, I think the main advice I would give is to start your CLAT prep early. If you started at 11, the advantage that you would be getting is that you are already going to be thorough in your basics and your fundamentals, at least in all of the subjects. So you don't have to work on your fundamentals in 12th. In 12th, you can absolutely just focus on giving mocks and working on your weak areas, and then giving your mocks and working on those. So you don't have to, read any kind of theory in 12th if you are working in the correct way in 11th. So once you have your fundamentals down, once you have thoroughly read through all the text and all the theory, and you have developed a habit of going through at least Manthan for GK, then in 12th, you don't have to worry about that as much. You can just focus on boards a little bit more and just give mocks regularly. That would be my suggestion, is that I used to give mocks at least every week, or if I couldn't, if I was really busy, every 2 weeks. A month, one a month is the bare minimum, but you can do better than that. So I would suggest giving mocks and then working on it. It's not that difficult of a task. It's easy, but you really have to be sure about what you're giving your time in. If you're giving your time in only your strong subject, that's not really going to benefit you at all. So work on your weaker sections, and yeah, that's And don't give up on your boards for CLAT. That I would not recommend. That boards are equally important. So focus on your boards as well.
Sir, and about the maths liking question, I think I have a point about that. Last week we had our orientation in our college, so all the students of our batch were basically introducing themselves, their hobbies, and what they liked and disliked. There was this one person who said that maths was the subject they hated the most. And the person who was moderating the discussion, she was a professor. She said that if you hate maths, you're not fit to be a lawyer. She said that because if you're becoming a lawyer, law is basically an amalgamation of all the sciences and the arts put together. If you do not like maths and you come to law school, how are you going to do taxation law? How are you going to do uh, if you don't like sciences, how are you going to do patent law? So at the end of the day, you need to develop a liking of even the technical subjects. So hating maths will not law is not an escape from maths at all. Maths will always come along with you, so you need to embrace it in some way.
Yeah, I guess we have been discussing about the lesser strong areas or weaker areas. We discussed about maths, we discussed about vocab, we discussed about legal reasoning also. I just wanted to understand, the current year aspirants must be going through the same phase. That's the reason why so many questions have come up. And I'm very sure that also during your preparation stage, there would have been certain areas which could be probably termed as a lesser weak area or a weaker area or a lesser strong area. So my question is to each one of you, how did you fit in that particular section during the actual CLAT? I'm sure you are getting me. In the actual CLAT, where did you actually fit in that particular section in the sequence? So I just wanted to understand and hear it out from each one of you.
I think I'll start. The first thing which I would suggest to all of the people who are taking CLAT the next year or the one after that, I'd suggest ki unless and until you're really confident about it, do not go according to the sequence that's present in the paper ki first English, then GK, then legal, critical karke. Because the people who are preparing the question, they are one of the best legal minds of our country, and they've been preparing these questions for a pretty long time now, and they try to attack the psychology of the people who are taking the CLAT, right? So the starting ke kuch questions will be really tough, and so that they can attack your psychology, and trust me, a lot of people go according to the sequence that's present in the paper. What I did was I started with current affairs and a lot of people start with current affairs as well. And what happened this year was current affairs was a bit difficult because it involved a bit more of static GK. So that also I believe that was kind of an attack on the psychology so that people get demoralized, because a lot of my friends, they used to get about 110 and 120 in mocks, but they said we started with current affairs, but because it was so difficult, we got so demoralized कि उसके बाद हमको बाकी पेपर अटेंड करने का भी मन नहीं किया. So आपको समझना पड़ेगा कि every question holds the equal importance. सब 1 mark hold करते हैं. If you do not do good in some particular section, does not necessarily mean आपका पेपर बुरा ही जाएगा, है ना? So make sure कि अगर आपको डिमोरलाइज होना ही है तो वो 2 घंटे के लिए मत होइए. If you want to regret, अगर आपको अपने आप को कोसना है तो वो 2 घंटे के बाद आपको बहुत टाइम मिलेगा, right? So what I did was I started with current affairs because I got over with current affairs pretty fast, and it takes about 10 to 12 minutes and it gets over with about 40 questions, which kind of eased me up, because the ratio of the questions which had to be solved with the stipulated time given turned out to be a bit more easier. So I kind of got relaxed after completing current affairs. Uske baad I went on to legal reasoning, because I mean most of the people's forte is legal reasoning. So I went on to legal reasoning. What I did was, after completing legal reasoning and critical reasoning, which were my strong points, I went on to quants, because you will get exhausted. It is a paper which is meant to get you exhausted, right? So I went on to quants to kind of ease up on reading so much. And then last I went on to English, because it was my weakest section, and a lot of people will suggest you as well, you should start with the sections you are strong in, and at the last try to do the questions that you're weak in. So that's what I did, and I think I saw a question which asked ki, how do we start, like all of us are saying ki start right now karke, but they were like, okay, so how do I start right now? What I did was ki I gave a mock or two, which I would suggest you to do as well. Try to give a mock or two and start working on your weak sections and strong sections. ऐसा नहीं आपको पूरा छोड़ देना है, but because you're already strong in that, you do not have to give so much of importance to those questions. Get along with your mentors and your counselors. उनसे पूछिए कि this is my weak section, मुझे बहुत कम marks आ रहे हैं. मैं तो मेरे को कभी-कभी लगता था कि मैं तो तंग कर रहा हूँ अपने teachers को. Yeah, the thing with CLAT was, what I noticed was that you cannot have a strategy for which you followed in each and every mock, because कभी-कभी ऐसा होता है the section you think you're really strong in turns out to be the section that was the hardest. So I'd suggest you to have a fluid strategy, because current affairs मेरे लिए was the strongest sections, and because it's one of the fastest sections, but it turned out to be a bit more difficult towards the difficult end. So I did not really change my strategy. I still give current affairs jaldi, but I would suggest kind of keep a fluid strategy, because there will be times where the paper will be unexpected and you'll have to change your strategy accordingly. So that would be my suggestion to everyone. Keep your strategy pretty fluid regarding which sections you're going to give first and last.
Yeah, what about Anandita?
So my weak section was GK, and what would happen in mocks is, like, other than GK, I would like either score really well in English and really bad in critical reasoning, or I would score really well in critical reasoning and do like terrible in English. I don't know why, but it always happened. So again, reasoning was tough, so I decided I would do it in the end. But in the actual exam, it turned out to be easy, and that's what I regret. I should have done it before maths. That was something I was good at, but the last set was something where I lost too much time. So I would suggest, like, even if you find something difficult, you have to give it the time, like the time it requires. Otherwise, you'll like lose out on marks that you can easily get.
Okay, I'd like to add to what everyone else said. Along with keeping your strategy fluid, I think I changed my sequence of attempting questions at the last moment, like 2 days before CLAT happened. I changed my strategy. I changed the sequence of attempting. But my strategy was to basically take what was my weakest head on. So like I attempted GK section, which was my weakest at the very beginning. And as everybody said, it was more difficult and very much static oriented than last year's. So, but I did not let myself get panicky or get really disturbed about what's happening with the paper. I treated it very casually. I don't think it registered really, because I attempted the entire GK section and then went on to my other sections really calmly, even though my GK section went horribly. It only set in after I'd given my exam and after I came out of the hall. So I think that is an important lesson to have, is to not lose your calm. I think someone was saying that some people attempted GK in the very beginning and then got demotivated and totally lost focus for the rest of the paper. And I think it's really important to not do that and to really tell yourself, if you are getting panicky, get into a habit of telling yourself it's fine and you can do it. The rest of the paper is more important, and you've got to give your best to all of those. And I think once you do that, you're going to realize that what you thought went horribly did not go as bad. So yeah, I think for me, if anybody wants to follow the strategy I did, you can just go head first into the section that you weakest in.
Sir, in addition to what everyone said, I just have only one point. Like, my strategy was also somewhere or the other a consolidation of what everyone said. But as everyone also mentioned, that we should not enter or start attempting the paper with a very rigid mind. And for like, GK has always been unpredictable. Like, no matter how many sources we rely on, there is still a huge possibility of a question we might not even have heard of. But then again, we should not just skip a particular passage. Like, there was a passage on human rights, which was completely based on static general knowledge. And but there was again a question like there is a particular agreement, and which of the following is not the aim of it? And one of the options was to be steadfast against or to be dogmatic against one particular religion. And it is, if not general knowledge, it is very common sense that anything reached on an international level cannot be against a particular religion or enforcing one religion. So even if we simply read the other four options, the option which entailed being against one religion or being dogmatic, it can be eliminated. So just by looking at a few words or the first few lines, we should not completely accept the fact that, okay, I have lost 5 marks. We should at least read the sentences, and somewhere or the other, we will know that these are to be eliminated and this has to be the correct answer.
All right. So Tejaswini, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, sir. I think pretty much everybody said it. But the thing is, like I even discussed with you before the exam, we have to be very flexible before appearing the exam. I think like Dhruv said, your strongest area can turn out to be your weakest area, and your weakest area can turn out to be your strongest area. So we have to pretty much very flexible. Even if legal is difficult, even you get hit in that particular area, you have to move forward. You cannot like panic will lead you to so many mistakes. So I think that is it. Like you have to be very flexible with the paper. Whatever it demands from you, you have to give that. You cannot get hit and just stop it by there.
Utkarsh, first, did you have a weak area?
Deepankar sir will kill me. It was legal. Legal was my weakest area. And so my sequence was again, Dhruv will also kill me. I attended the paper in the sequence. It was it's given in the paper. So yeah, I did not give a specific place to legal, even though it was my weakest section. I thought karna hi hai, it's 40 marks, so you have to do it. So I did it third, in fact, and I did not think that made a lot of difference. Even if I would have done it last, it would not have helped me that much. At the end of the day, you do not have to look at your strength and your weakness that much. If you know if you are comfortable with a particular strategy, then I don't think there is any need to change it unless you find a major flaw in it. So I think that's it.
One question that I wanted to ask, and also a lot of students while preparing, it's a constant complaint that this is in addition to something that I have heard from the top 3 rankers when they talked about it on YouTube, that some people give mocks and their starting mark starts from 90 or 100, and some of them start from 50, and they keep on working towards a score of 90 or 100. And there are 2 students that one I've noticed their mock. Utkarsh been one whose mocks were more than average from the starting, and there is Tejaswini who improved her score to a breakthrough level. My question would be in 2 regards. One is this, that Utkarsh, when did you notice that you have already reached at a position where you can already reach 90? Like, what were the things that you did, and what did you notice about this exam? Because I'm pretty sure you must have talked to some of your friends who were in 50. And the second thing would be to Tejaswini and to others about this path, that once you reach 50 and then you reach a 70 and then you reach a 80 and then you stay at 80 for a really long time, which frustrates a lot of people. How do you break it?
If I talk about myself, I think it was an accident that I scored as well as I did when I started out with this pattern, because I did not think my verbal was that good. And I think when I got my score started around 88. So when I scored around that level, there were a lot of people who were above me, and I thought that so it was always important to look at those who were scoring above what I was scoring at that point. Even when I was at 90, there were a lot of people at 120. So you cannot rest until you improve. I think a plateau is I think a plateau can occur irrespective of where you are at that particular point. Like you said, so there's a plateau at 80 for a lot of people. I think there's also one at 100. When you reach 100, after that increasing it to 110, 120, it's almost impossible. I don't think I ever got through that plateau. I would be, for example, I would score around 110 in one mock, and then in the next mock I would be back to 100. So I think that was a really frustrating phase for me. The way I worked upon it was, I remember I had a discussion with Vishal sir after I gave my CLAT 2020 paper, in which we talked about some of the ways to eliminate questions in the actual exam. And I think that helped me work harder for my mocks too. Eliminating options was a strategy that I did not employ until very late in my prep. So I think that definitely helped me get across my plateau, but it would definitely be different for everyone. Even if you start out really high, I'm sure a lot of you would already be at 100, 110, maybe 120 right now. But the important thing is to not get complacent, because that tends to happen a lot. I remember a phase in my prep when I was getting around 110, and after that, unfortunately, I did not give a mock for 2 months because I thought I could pick it up again after that, and I thought that really affected me a lot. So please learn from my mistakes, even if you're scoring very, very high. Do not stop. Do not think that's going to stay constant, because if you prepare, if you leave preparation for 2 months and you come back, you'll observe there are people at 130 already, and after that, working upon yourself is very tough. So even if you're scoring really high right now, remember to keep working.
Okay, all right. So I think I started with the score 30, I guess 30 or 36. I think I should say that. I'm not ashamed about it, and I'm not even from the CBSE background, so I had to put a lot extra efforts because my English was not, intact. So I had to work. One thing is you have to be very consistent, newspapers and all, and even mocks, like I used to give 3 mocks in a week. So, and also I used to work with Vishal sir, and he did like help me a lot. Like uh, after every mock gets over, we used to have a conversation like where should I improve, why I got so many mistakes in that particular area. He used to say like, why Tejani, why English and critical reasoning, why is that, why you are getting so many wrongs in that particular subject. So I think he helped me a lot. I used to be in touch, and he did everything he could. He suggested me do this and read 2 and half an hour extra newspaper, like a newspaper पढ़ते हो 2 hours 30 minutes कुछ extra questions करो, so that you will be like able to handle the pressure of CLAT. So 30 minutes I used to do extra, like some questions or not. And I think that is it. Like you have to be in touch with the mentors. That's what I thought. Like वो सब सही कर देंगे. I think that's it.
All right. So I think one final question I will take. Navya, I think you are very anxious to find out the score which will fetch you the right rank. I'm telling you, none of these achievers would give you any of that score. They themselves have it for experience. If you look at CLAT 2019, then 20, and then 21, the numbers have varied so much that you cannot come to a particular figure in your mind and then go about the test. And if you're doing that, then it's a disaster. You're going for a disaster. So please don't do that. Just try to maximize your score during the exam. I'm sure all the achievers would agree with me over here. And so with that, I think it's time we close the session. All of you, please notice these faces. So Divyanshi, you can turn on your camera for a minute or two. Anandita, if you can come back. So हो सकता है अगले साल यही लोग मिलेंगे आपको, right? There might be some amount of ragging as well, but tell them about this career launcher Bhubaneshwar and Cuttack wala link. So they might go a little easy on you. So thank you all of you for taking out the time. It's been a long session. We didn't expect it to go this far, but I'm glad that so many students had so many questions to ask. I'm sure there will be many more questions to ask later, and there are so much content that we've created over the YouTube as well. You'll get to watch that as well. So thank you everyone for taking out the time. You've been very hardworking. You've inspired a lot, I'm sure, today, and I'm expecting many of the current students to be next year as co-hosts alongside us. All right.
Thank you
all.
so much, sir. Thank you so much.
All the best
Thank
to all
you,
of
sir. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
sir.
much.
All the best, all of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.